underestimate
the power
of a single
Conversation.
it could change your whole life.
INCRadio Chatline.
conversations that matter.
This is what I ask. Let me always dwell in the temple of the Lord till I bring my last.
Conversations that matter. I am Tony Rose Valenzuela, broadcasting here from Sterling Heights, Michigan today, and I am one of your hosts. I'm not by myself. I have my good friend over there in Rockford, Illinois, who's co-hosting with me today. He's in blue. I think that's blue.
So this is a light blue, or I guess sky blue, no, however you want to call it. But hello, everyone. Elsam Javala Cruz live here from Rockford, Illinois. Yes, I would say it's like a good 6 hours away from where Tony is right now.
Yeah, good 6 hours. I mentioned blue because I think it seems like a theme today because it's not just you and me who's wearing blue. I don't know how far she is, how many hours away she is from us. Well, let's say hi to her who's also wearing blue. We're team blue today.
Hello, coming to you from Fort Worth, Texas.
Hi, Arnie. That's probably like 20-ish hours, I want to say.
I think so.
Something like that if we were to drive, though.
Michigan,
it is.
yeah,
It is drivable. I know people who drive up there all the time.
I have
You've
experienced
done it,
that,
right? You've driven
or
there.
I have experienced that, Arnie. I would say I have experienced that. It's like from Michigan, Tony. I think it's like 21 hours drive.
Ooh.
It's almost like a whole day. It's like what I remember from it.
Wow.
That's
Okay.
too long.
That is kind of long, but I'd be willing to do it. But thankfully, we have stuff like this, right? We have this kind of media that is able to connect us, right? Which is related to our topic today. For those who are tuning in with us, whether you're watching live or you're watching the replay, we're talking about social media today. So I guess this can count as a form of social media because we're together, we're socializing, right? A little bit in that way.
Sure.
Yeah, I guess you can count it, right? Kind of.
And this is a media platform. So.
Right, all right, right. I think we can kind of count that, and I'm still a little blurry on the different ones, but there are very obvious ones. But we'll talk about all of that today, and not just social media in general, but especially how it affects us. But before we get into all of that, I'm curious the different ways that you guys use social media and what social media you guys use. Like, what platforms are you guys on? Because there are platforms that I'm not on. Like, I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on I'm trying to think. I'm not on TikTok. I did have it at one point, but I can't I can't keep up with it. But I think I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, and that's pretty much it. What about you guys?
I would say same for me. I'm also just on Facebook and Instagram. Those are like the only two social media platforms that I use. I don't think I've ever had a Twitter. I know I made an account at one point, but I never used it.
Got it. Okay. What about you, Arnie?
Yeah, I'm getting too old. Facebook and Instagram is all I know.
Oh,
It's hard to keep
Yeah.
up, you know? Even like when I do different posts, my nephews would always like, "Yeah, do something different." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't do edits. I don't add anything. What you see is what you're gonna get."
okay.
That's something I see more on social media. I think even my brothers got into it, like the edits they call it. It's like a mini. If I have to explain, it's like a mini music video.
Oh, is
Like,
it really?
yeah,
That
it's
was
like
the thing?
they pick a popular song that's been remixed, and they add a lot of like effects to it, and it only lasts like a couple seconds. It's only a couple seconds long. I would say at most a minute, maybe.
Got it. Okay. I don't know if you guys I don't know if this counts. Does this count Pinterest? Are you guys on Pinterest? You've heard of Pinterest, right?
I've heard of Pinterest and back in the days I used to, but then sometimes like that keeping up with that too is just it's just too much.
I don't know how to use it. That's why I never got into it. I was
Exactly.
like, how do I use this thing?
Yeah, like I would look at other people's stuff, but I
Mm.
wouldn't know how to like pin it because I guess you're supposed to pin it to save it or whatever,
Yeah,
and
something.
I would not know how to do that.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
that is a question.
I only use it for reference, especially like when I was when I was still, I would say, more active towards like fashion, like what I wear. I used it for reference, but nowadays I don't use it as much. And I never like myself, like I never pinned like anything on, uh, as well. I just looked at other people's like stuff, like what they pinned and like this aesthetic, right?
Got it. Okay. Another one that I did use that I don't use anymore was Tumblr. That's kind of like the hipster blogging kind of platform. It's like Arnie's looking at me like,
Like,
what?
what is that?
I have heard about it, but I don't think I've ever visited it.
Yeah, I think it's still going, but it was really popular. I want to say more in like 2010 to 2013, and then it kind of died down a little bit after that. You might see screenshots of it sometimes on social media, like maybe on Facebook, of just excerpts from conversations that just turn into memes. Memes, we all know what memes are, right? That's that. I feel like that bridges across all the social media platforms. That's
What
what I
about
use social media for typically, is memes. That's one of them for sure.
Memes, how I communicate with my friends, I feel like nowadays on social media.
yeah, people don't say stuff anymore. They just send memes
Or gifts,
or
right?
gifs. Now, what about like Snapchat? I know my nephews use
Oh
Snapchat,
yeah.
but I never got into that
I
one.
don't know. I never used it either.
I used it again, I want to say early 2000. When did it? I don't know when it started. Was it like 2010, I think, when it broke out?
Yeah, like I would say mid
Mm,
to late
right?
to
Something like that. I used it like really early on, because now there's this thing that they do that I think it's to kind of to get you to always use it like every day, where they say the streaks, and it
Mhm.
it puts so much pressure on me. It's like I can't do this anymore. Just like, or sometimes some of my friends are like, our streaks, and I'm like, I don't know what you want me to do. It's like I don't remember.
You
I'm
have to
sorry.
send. So like you have to send like a message, like or like
Yeah,
one
well,
message
because
every day.
Snapchat, for those who don't know what Snapchat is, it's basically, I think of it like messaging, but just in pictures. So you're basically like just sending a pictures, and sometimes when they send for the quote unquote the streaks, it's just the ceiling. I'm just like, why are you sending me this picture if I'm just gonna be looking at the ceiling, or I'm just gonna be looking at, like, I'm not even seeing your face. Like, all right, it's supposed to be social media, right? To socialize, to like, but anyway, but so those are the different ones that we've kind of encountered, right? But what are your guys's, I guess, preferred, like, content? Do you guys go, like, what I mentioned earlier was that I typically like to go on social media for memes, or sometimes I spend, time creating posts. I like sharing stories, like, of like personal stories for me. I don't, and I like animal videos, or like stuff that has to do with music. That's kind of the content that I look for when I'm on social media. What about you guys?
I'm boring when I'm on social media. Like
No.
I post the things I cook because
Oh, that's not boring. What do you mean, Artie?
Not boring at
At
all.
least you can cook. Hello.
yeah, and then whenever I post stuff I could cook, and my coworkers were like, "Ooh, do you have extra? Bring it to work tomorrow." And so that's what I do.
Oh,
The other things I like to post is usually like when I get to spend time with my nephews and my nieces because I don't get to see them that often, and then my travels. So that's pretty much all I would post, or I would share a post of things that are funny, like when people do practical jokes on people, or like people jumping out and scaring people. I just find that hilarious.
I wouldn't say that's boring though. That's legit. That's valid, Arnie. Like,
I
I prefer.
understand like being proud of like something like I that's how I feel every time I make something or I try cooking something new. Like I want to share it on social media. It's just that I don't post on social media. Like if you've seen like my Facebook or my Instagram, there's not a lot of posts there.
That's okay. Everybody uses it for something different. So
Well, when I used to
I-
go to different theme parks and I had the season pass, that's all I would post is like every single character I got a picture with.
very cool. That's very cool. Delmar put in the live chat. I don't know if you know what this is, Arnie. It's MIRC. I have
Oh,
no idea.
yes.
What is
So
that?
IRC used to be, it was like kind of like AOL where it was a chat line. And
Uh,
so it wasn't really something that you could post things, but it was where you could go and do chats. And I remember that's how we first started doing a lot of chats. And that was when it first started, it was for like the youth who wanted to meet other people in other parts of the world,
Oh,
so it was pretty cool, and I do remember meeting people from IRC who are still friends now.
wow.
Yeah, that was a
Wow.
long
So
time,
that's
that was a
that's
long time
instant
ago.
messaging? That's
It's like
instant messaging though. That's not like forum because I know
no.
forum, that's a completely different
Yeah,
animal.
it was more like AOL, like,
Got it.
so it
Okay.
was chatting, yeah. So, I guess
Oh.
more like a WhatsApp or a Viber, but it's you would
Oh.
join a group and then you could have like conversations, and yeah, it was pretty cool.
it
Wow.
reminded me
Okay.
of like this one social media I wanted to be in, but I was like too young for it. It was what was the name of it? MySpace, I think. That's the name of it.
Got it. Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot about those. MySpace,
It's all the cool
Friendster.
kids around it.
Yeah.
But it was like which like on hindsight I'm grateful my parents didn't let me be on it.
I'm like, I know, whatever happened to that? Because I mean, I thought that was pretty cool. I
I
don't know
think
how
it
it just got
just
phased out.
yeah, I think it just got phased out. It wasn't really anything particular.
I think
Just
Facebook took
more.
over, that's why.
I think so too. Yeah. I think that's what it was during that. Again, it was that period I feel like of 2010-ish to
Mhm.
2008 because I remember, it was because I was in that generation of like just behind of when that was like kind of peaking because I would see it from my siblings and that would be, the thing, that people were doing. You're like, "Oh yeah, if you have a college." I was like, "Oh man." Like at one point you had to have a college like email to be able to I think join, but now it's just anybody. So everyone in live chat who is commenting, we're talking about the different social media that we've kind of encountered or experienced. I've heard of Zanga, Nathan. I never was that a blogging website?
I don't
Or
know.
was
I've
it?
heard of that too, but I never got into that.
I
It
feel like
might have been a variation of MySpace or Friendster, possibly. I'm
Oh
not.
yeah,
I'm not.
Friendster. I forgot about Friendster.
Yeah. I
this is
feel
a
like Friendster was a friendly like MySpace because like what I loved about it is that you could put the music, you could like change the music to your profile like all the time. But like with MySpace, I know you would rate your friends. Like you would have your number one and then like to eight or something like that. And I guess people would always joke. They would be like, like if they got in a fight with their friends, just like, okay, you're not in my top eight anymore. And they're like, what? What do you mean?
I feel like that would put so much pressure on me. Like, who would have I would put on like a top eight or
I
something.
know. Oh man, someone comment from the INC radio channel MIRC, like saying what's a cassette tape. But I know what a cassette tape is, okay? Just just for the record. But that just kind of shows the social media and the way that it's kind of evolved to the generations,
Hmm.
right? There's different
Mm,
variations of it now. There's different ways that it kind of manifests. So with that in mind, right, all these different ways that we kind of experience it then and the way that we experience it now, let's kind of break it down on how it affects us because you know when you're spending well that's one thing we didn't get to talk about, right, is like how often you're typically on social media. How often would you say you guys like a ballpark answer of how much you spend on social media, your time?
mm,
I'd probably say like 2 to 3 hours a day, I
Okay.
think.
mm.
Because like when you're at work, technically you can't be on anything. And
Right.
so it's usually when I'm at home or
Hmm.
in the car and I'm bored.
Got it. Okay.
Mhm.
What about you, EJ?
Honestly, like in terms of like social media, I don't really spend that much time. I would check in, see if I have notifications, if I have messages, and like I would say most I would only spend about a couple minutes scrolling through like social media just to see what's new, if there's like news or anything.
Updates,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't really spend a whole lot of time like unless if you count YouTube as like social media, I guess.
I think you could because of like the comments section,
Mhm.
right? It show I don't know. It shows up in like when you have your screen time breakdown. a lot of what makes it high is because of YouTube, oddly enough. I never thought of it as a social media platform, but I guess in a way, yeah, it can be.
Like when
Um,
I'm watching like a podcast, sometimes I would like just scroll through the comments. It's really
yeah, you're just like,
I
oh,
don't know why. I don't know why that's satisfying too. And why it's
good
satisfying
for you.
to see like what other people think.
Yeah,
And a lot of times it like even I do like 2 to 3 hours. It's usually like right before I go to bed
got it.
when I'm trying to wind down. I'll just watch people's different videos,
Mhm.
or I follow these families who have the cute kids who like to do
Yeah.
different things on there, and so just keep you entertained.
Got it, got it. So yours is like for primarily for entertainment, just something to relax on, right, Arnie, for you? Okay.
For
So
the most
everyone
part.
has different, yeah, everyone has different ways that they kind of use it, and everyone commenting there in Team Live Chat, they're they're mentioning all these different social medias now. I see Nathan Canlas, he's also there in the comment section, and Jess Guillermo, they're all talking about the older older tech now. I see 8 track there in the comment section. Hello to Mylene. She's also commenting there. And Alice Ghana. Thanks for tuning in with us. So, the next question that I have for everyone really is because now that we kind of mentioned roughly about how much time that we spend on it, given that we spend a good amount of time on it, it has the potential to affect us in certain ways, right? It could be positive, it could be negative. What are some positive ways that you've noticed how social media affects you, like different positive ways, things that you can tell that you're in a good mood because of it.
I think like when I see my friends when they post and
Hmm.
good things are happening in their life and they're happy about certain occasions or certain things going on, I
Hmm.
think that makes me happy because like even though I can't be there, it's nice to know that things are going well for them.
Nice. Very nice.
Honestly, yeah, that's a like that's something that I don't know always cheers me up. Like when I see like even when I see them like posting their like let's say they're working out and they just post like their progress, right? Like it's even like I would say like recently I saw like before and after and I was just like good for you.
Mhm.
like you really lost like a lot of weight. You like you really you I don't know if it's like it what's the right term to use? Like I don't know if it affects me more because I'm also trying to do that,
In
but
a
I like
good
It
way, right?
motivates you.
Motivates. Yeah, that's
yeah,
good.
yeah, that's the word. It motivates me more, like to see that. Or I know sometimes my sister in law she'll post like pictures of my nephew, and I'm like, oh, it's like he's really like growing up. He's walking now. He says a few words. He knows a few words already. So like I would say it's like one of the things that like really affect me in a good way, in a positive way, in terms of like social media.
Got it. Okay. So when you see your friends or family, good things happening to them, that's definitely a mood booster. What about stuff that's not necessarily from your friends? Because I know with social media now, because it's grown to be this huge thing, there's mixed content from everywhere. It's not just from your friends. You might see it from just could be celebrities, could be just these random accounts, these like strictly meme accounts or strictly animal account,
Let's
whatever
say
it may be.
in my like in my for you page, like
Mhm.
once the first show up when you open, especially Instagram, I see a lot of cat videos. I don't know if it's because I like most of my posts on Instagram is like my cats.
The algorithm
I
knows.
see a lot of like cat videos, like memes, like cat memes. There's, like a lot of cat related stuff on my end.
Why are you shaking your head, Arnie?
I'm not a cat person.
Got it. Okay.
I'm more of a dog person, but not really a cat. For me, I followed this. There's this one family that's on there where their daughter was singing a lot of the princess songs since she was like 3 years old. And
Nice.
so ever since then, I was following them, and just to see her progress and see how her voice has developed, and then her other siblings are also like singing and everything. It's pretty cool. And then there's this Australian family where the husband is Australian, the wife is Filipina,
Mhm.
and the kid, she tries to speak Tagalog with an Australian accent.
Oh,
She's a cute little kid, and it's just funny, and it's to see how I mean, yeah, they're growing up in the limelight, but they're normal people,
Mhm.
It's pretty cool.
So far, what I'm getting from both of you is some positive ways that it affects us is obviously entertainment, right? Sometimes you just need
Yes.
that mood booster. You're just like, oh,
Hmm.
that's really funny, or oh, that's really cute. And then it can also be inspirational, right? Or just, you, I don't know the right word of when you see, you're just genuinely happy, like when you see your friends doing well, or when you see someone's story that just inspires you, right? Those are some things that we think about,
Hmm.
and those are good benefits, right? Those are good benefits because that can help you in your own development. That can just help you with your own mood, like when you see something and then you can start your day a little bit better just by seeing those things. So that's one side of the coin, right? Now there's also the other side of the coin as well, right? Where there's positives, there's also negative.
Negatives, yeah.
There's also negative. So what are some times that you guys have felt negative when you've been on social media?
I don't know if it makes me feel negative. I think it just frustrates me. Like,
Good word.
I'm from California, and I sometimes I'll see posts of things that's going on in California that's scary, that never used to happen before, where people like had no shame. They will just go to any random store, rob
Mhm.
it, and and things like that, or they will just break into someone's car while they're at a stoplight. Those things
Mhm.
I think kind of frustrate me, and I think those it saddens me to see that's how the world has become.
Got it. So like news, like when you see, or not even just news, just like
No,
what's
it's like,
been captured.
yeah,
I
like
would
what
say, yeah.
people are getting, what they're seeing,
Yeah.
and it's happening to innocent people who, whether they're random families that's getting picked on, or even stores, that's
Mhm.
somebody's business. So,
Yeah.
I
What do
would,
you think,
I don't
AJ?
know. I definitely relate. Sometimes you do come across like some not so good news like on social media. I applaud Instagram for having that, like the filter that blocks it out and ask you,
Yeah.
are you sure you want to see this? This is not, I know this is not good news. Are you sure you want to see this before they let you see it? Like, I'm thankful for that, because sometimes I'm just not in the mood to see like some not so good news. I was like, maybe some other time I'll see. And related to what Arnie actually said, is something that I noticed like more. I would say even I started noticing it. I would say to mid 2010s to even now, is that like, you guys have seen those on YouTube as well, like the pranks, right? The prank
Mhm.
channels, which it's all in good fun, but like sometimes I see them go like too much,
too far.
yeah, too far, go too far, where they damage properties, they cause harm on like other people, like,
Mhm.
and I know it's all in pursuit of like going viral. It's all in pursuit of like being Instagram famous, right?
Hmm.
And I would say even in TikTok nowadays, I've seen, I don't know how many those challenges we've had where people were hospitalized, or like sometimes even worse, right? All in pursuit of wanting to be more famous, right?
Yeah.
On social media, where they put themselves to harm, they put others, at risk of like harm,
Mhm.
just to be famous, and that makes me sad when I see it like on social media.
And I think even like just people's behavior when you see them not behaving correctly. Like, I work in the airline industry, so I see it all the time when people are on planes thinking they could do whatever they want and misbehave. And so I see it live, but then seeing it also on social media, it kind of frustrating.
Mhm.
Even just behavior anywhere, whether out in public. I think people just don't know how to act in public anymore.
Mhm.
And it get now that everyone's got a camera, everyone's got a phone, it gets captured, and because of social media, it gets posted for everyone to see, and I think that's just very frustrating.
Actually, I just want to reply to Nathan's answer, is that a lot of videos are staged now too. I would say I would prefer that over them just posting like a random person off the street. I would rather that it's staged than they actually just approach a random person and you know, just put them, in harm's way or stress them out, right? Like I would, I prefer that they just staged it. I actually don't mind it if they just staged, like uh, if they actually coordinate with someone. Okay, you gotta pretend like you're angry at me pranking you, but
Right.
they know. Like I would prefer that over them actually just making someone angry just for a reaction, right? For their YouTube video or their TikTok video, right?
Right. And there's a little danger in that too, right? Even just bringing up that idea of stage stuff is because sometimes when you see social media, you don't know what's real anymore and what's not, right? Just because it's a bunch of mixed different things that are out there. And um to say that social media itself is bad, right? That's not what it is. I think it's with any tool that we have, it just depends on how you use it that can make it
Mhm.
good or that can make it bad. Because what we've spoken on, basically, we realize and we recognize the great benefits that social media can do for us, making connections with others and being able to inspire others. But then on the other hand, you have this other type of behavior that can lead to different things in terms of influencing people to, like what you mentioned, Arnie and EJ. There's these things that I guess become trending, right, or that become popular, and it's like, oh yeah, I'll do that too because I saw it on social media. But that's that's where we have to have a little bit more discernment, or be able to pay attention to what's really out there, and why people are doing the things that they're doing. Are they doing it for good reasons, or are they doing it for the likes or for the
Yeah.
views?
And I think the bad part is because children of all ages now have access to social
True.
media.
Yeah.
Even if they say, hey, it's for 18 and above, kids now know how to change their birth date or whatever. Because, I mean, my nephew was doing that when he was younger. He would calculate what's 18 years old, and that's the year that he would put as his date of birth. And so now they have access to all of this. And, sometimes children don't know better. Sometimes when they see stuff, they're not going to know it's staged. They're going to think it's real. And they're going to think that, hey, if everyone's doing it, then hey, it might be okay to do it, you know? So that's where I see the danger in that.
It's for and I was just reading up on some stuff that was sent on the side of the lengths that people try to go to in order to be able to do these different things. And like to your point, Arnie, what's dangerous about that is that there's a lot of different people who are paying attention to these things that
Hmm.
may not have that mindset to kind of filter and to recognize that, oh, maybe this is not okay, oh, maybe this is not wise to do, or they don't have that. I can't think of the correct word, but being able to distinguish the right from wrong.
And it's not just children, there
Yeah.
are some adults who may not be there completely, where they don't, they won't see the difference between the right and wrong and think, hey, it's okay. These people are famous. Everyone's watching them. They're
Mhm.
viral. So it must be okay.
Yeah, for sure. It's a fine line. It's a very fine line to kind of walk, and being able to and it's you just kind of get bombarded with these things, right? You kind of get bombarded with it. You don't always have the filter there right away to be able to say, oh, I don't want to see this. It just kind of shows up, and
Hmm.
you have to be able to pay attention. And things that kind of show up. Um, Speaking of showing up, we have someone who showed up that's here with us. Let's say hi to her.
Hi, everybody!
Hello.
We have friends from all over the world. So we have Lisa from Australia. Hello. The ones behind me are from Washington D.C. and Colorado, and then repping UK. And then we have Caitlin.
Yay.
We're actually, and guess where we are? We are in Canada. Sorry, I'm too loud. We're actually in an indoor place. So I'm gonna, low down my tone and my hyperness. But I just wanted to pass by and say hi. I miss you guys.
Hello. I wish that I
I
was
was not
there.
invited to that party.
Totally wish I was there. That looks like a lot of fun. It's very cool that all of you. What are your guys' plans today? Just
So right now we're just like all meeting up, I guess. We're gonna eat and then go to the zoo. Oh,
very nice.
specifically we're in Winnipeg.
Woo!
Manitoba, Canada. Yeah,
Very, very
I'm so
cool.
excited.
Yeah, I'm excited for all of you. I know
It's my
the
first
event.
time. It's my first time here in Canada. But what were you talking about, Tony? Oh,
We're talking about
actually,
social
hi.
media.
I'm Erica. For the ones that don't know me, I forgot to
Oh,
introduce myself.
she's so energetic that she forgot to introduce
I
herself.
know.
I know.
She
I
just
forgot
happened
my
to be
name.
here. She's
I
just
forgot
happened to
my
be
name.
here.
I forgot to yeah. Forgot to introduce myself.
No, you're
But yes,
good.
what were you talking about? Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good. We've been talking about social media, and earlier we addressed the good parts of it, and we've kind of talked about the bad parts of it, the way that it can kind of influence us. And I know Erica, you're on social media. You're everywhere, Erica, for a reason. Because she's everywhere. So what's your take on this, especially? You grew up. For those who don't know, Erica, she's in a household of different generations of kids. She has her sibling, a bunch of her siblings, and they're all different ages. So have you kind of noticed the way that social media can affect us negatively? Like, what are some things that you kind of notice about social media that you know impacts you, impacts your
I actually
siblings?
definitely agree with what you just mentioned. So everything actually that we do has both pros and cons. And when it comes to social media, that's not an exemption. So you mentioned how in my family, ouch, I feel a bit a bit old when it
No,
comes to.
never.
So for me, it's more on personally. I would say it's how you use things, right? So you you would learn throughout the years, I guess, or with time, your balance on how much you would use something and how much that you've like past the threshold, because social media is good when it comes to communication. It's faster. You get to connect with people all over the world. You also get inspired by what other people do, when they post and stuff. But as you have mentioned, there's also like the negative side when it comes to when you use it too much, that it would affect you in a not positive way, and we try to avoid that. And that's why we try to I guess like discipline ourselves not to spend too much time on it, because fair enough, as much as it is helpful, it's also helpful to spend time with your loved ones in person too, unless like your loved ones are like living in different countries and you can't really like access public transport to visit them, and you just
Right.
literally have to like book a flight, and that's expensive, and we get it, it's fine. Adulting 101, sometimes it's hard. But besides that, like me personally, that's my take on it. Like, I like using social media because I get to share what I'm doing, but of course I also take in consideration and I'm aware of um, either like the dangers of using social media. So of course we always remind like people that are close to us or friends not to post things that are personal, for our own safety as well. Like personal data or like your whereabouts, if you know what I mean. Like if your family is like on a holiday, so that people like know that you're out of town, and there's no one in the house, and stuff like that. But at the same time, when it comes to my siblings, for example, I know that it's funny because I have four siblings, so we're five, and we're totally different from each other. Where Arabelle, the second one, she has social media, but she's not as active in posting. She's very reserved in that manner, but she does like share a lot of like content that is inspiring too. Then I have Arian likes social media just because of the comedy stuff. You know how
Mhm.
she's the clown of the family. She's the funniest one amongst my siblings, and she just like likes to share a lot of funny things to brighten up our day, or like even like just to talk to us and like contact friends and stuff. And my two brothers, like the youngest ones, I guess they use social media as a like to take a break. Uh, oh no, I
I
think
can
I'm
still hear
lost.
you.
Hello?
Can still hear
Are
you.
you
Your
there?
video
Okay.
just went away.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, I know, because I was like, oh, with my brothers naman, they're the youngest one, so it's like it's totally different because they don't really they're more into either like going out to the park and be sporty about it and play like basketball, volleyball, or like table tennis with their friends. But on social media they don't really post anything. They're like Aryan, where they just share reels. I mean, I guess like that's one of the new things about the new generation, which is like love languages wise, is
True.
instead of like checking up on people, like saying normally hi, hello, how are you, it's sending them reels or like posts that you think that can relate to you or that make you think of your friends and loved ones. It's like, oh, I thought of you when I saw this, you know what I mean? And I guess this is like the positive side, but of course, like, I don't know what else can be negative, but if you use something too much, it's not good.
Yeah, I like the because you did bring up a point earlier, Erica, in terms of how, sometimes we might be so consumed with something that we don't realize or we don't pay attention to what's in front of us. I've kind of seen that even in myself sometimes when, I might be with a bunch of friends and the tendency might be to pick up my phone way more often than I should, as opposed to having an actual conversation with them. Or maybe I might not even process what they're saying because I will be like, wait, what? And I'll have to ask them again, like, wait, can you say that again? I wasn't fully paying attention, right? It's kind of like your attention gets split sometimes because your mind might be invested in your phone while trying to balance, right? And that's me as speaking as someone who didn't. I mean, I grew up with social media, but not when I was like a kid, right? Like not when I was like 5 or 6, as opposed to some of these kids now where they might have it from as early as 8 or 9 years old, and then you kind of lose maybe some skills in how you can interact with other people, right? Like being able to replace the sending reels and sending memes like earlier, right, Arnie? You mentioned like sometimes that's all people can do now, but do you have that skill set to actually talk to people, to actually socialize, to actually hold a conversation?
I make it a point that if I am with other people, I don't pick up my phone
Hmm.
unless, like I said, somebody's calling.
Right.
Not even like for text messages, because we grew up in an age where we were socializing, where we were used to having people in front of us, and we were taught that it was rude to be on your phone if you're talking to somebody there. Even like in the business world, if you have customers who come, they want you to deal with the
Mhm.
person in person, not the person on the phone. So
Yeah, it's kind of that balancing act nowadays, right? A little bit, because it seems like there's a little bit more demand in having to be able to pick up your phone, to being able to answer it all the time. But then, like to your point, it you have to kind of honor the people who are there with you as well, and not making them feel like, oh, maybe I'm not as important as the other person
yeah,
on.
and you know what's funny is like whenever I go home to Sacramento to go visit family,
Mhm.
people are all in the same room and they're all texting each other. I'm like,
I
really? Especially
know.
especially the kids. I'm like, really? You can't just like start having conversations, Like me, sometimes if I am in a room with everybody else, sometimes I will text like one other person because we don't want to say stuff in front of other people, right?
Right.
But when you're just like telling each other jokes or things, I'm like, dude, you guys talk to each other. Get off your phones.
Yeah.
So when I go to dinner with my nephews, they're always watching videos or they're always doing stuff on TikTok and stuff. I'm like, put it down. I go, while we're having a meal, we are gonna conversate. And they're like, huh? I'm like, yeah, it's called socialization. We're gonna talk to each other. I'm gonna ask you how your day is, and you're gonna tell me. But you could watch my post. I'm like, nah, you're gonna tell me how it is, because you have to do that. Otherwise, eh, kids nowadays, they really don't know how to socialize.
Yeah. And it's really just again, we're not there to demonize social media, but it's really about our approach and how we handle it, and
Hmm.
being able to recognize those limits and then recognizing where we can build skills otherwise, like to Arnie's point, right? Being able to still have that skill set. Like there's nothing wrong with being able to send these messages and
Hmm.
send these reels to your friends if that's what you like to do. But it comes with a balance of being able to have those other skill sets too. EJ, I saw you were about to say something.
No, it said it all depends on like moderation, right? When
Hmm.
when especially if you're with like your friends. I would say I check my phone a lot, but that's mostly because I always have my phone on silent. So if someone calls, I wouldn't hear it. So I have a tendency to look at my phone to check if someone messaged me, if someone's calling me, because I wouldn't be able to see it otherwise. There are like times where I forgot to check my phone, and when I looked, I have like three missed calls from my mom. Like, oh no, oh no, I
You're
didn't see
you're
or I
never
didn't
supposed to
hear
miss a
it.
call from
Yeah,
your mom.
yeah, my mom's so open in
That is like the worst thing
conversation.
you could do.
No, I know my mom's very chill about that. Like if I missed calls, like if I don't pick up by the third time, she'll just send me a text message about she's she was calling me about. So, but there are times where because I was talking to my friends, I forgot to check my phone. So I made a habit of like having my phone on my hand just so I can look at it, or like the screen will light up if someone's trying to call me. Like it'll light up, so I'll be able to see. But I'd say with me and my friends, we do like it's something I'm proud of that we do tend to talk like when we're together. I know when we're just at home, right, in our own homes. Like, sure, there's a lot of there's a lot of that's when texting happens. But when you're together, then we talk. We talk.
Yeah. And I think like you said, there are lots of benefits to social media because a lot of times we do get good stuff out of it. But I also have learned to like people who complain all the time or people who do negative things all the time. I've learned to like, you know what? I could just block them because I don't need to see that. I'm a positive person, so I like to always try to be happy. And when there's things that I think are inappropriate or things that I'm like, okay, I don't need to see this, I'll block people.
Or unfollow, right?
Hmm.
Unfollow or just, unfriend, because social media, it's a personal place, right? It's a
Hmm.
personal place, and being able to exercise that, especially if there's things that, if you're seeing something quite often, right? If you're seeing it, you know, I'm in terms of the hours that I spend on social media, I tend to spend quite a bit just because I use it to catch up with a lot of people. And when you spend that time exposing yourself, being conscious of the things that you want and you don't want to see is really important, even like time wise, because I know Blessing, she put that in the comment section earlier. Being lost in the rabbit holes of social media also removes motivation to do anything else. It takes a lot to get re-energized to do other things. So if it's like that already, and then you're seeing on top of that negative stuff, and you're just like, oh,
I
oh
think
no.
for
And
me, like if I see, like let's say I see like a like someone I'm following, like a friend of mine, like, and I know that they don't usually post, like let's say they don't usually post like their thoughts out loud like that, and they start doing that. Like for me, that's like a warning that like check up on them, like so
Mm,
something might be going on, especially if what they're posting their thoughts and it's like negative, it's not so good. Then I like that's my cue to just like, hey, what's up? You doing okay? Hey, what's on your
red
mind?
flag, kind of
Yeah,
a red
yeah.
flag.
yeah.
And that whole thing about being unproductive, it is true. And so that's the reason I usually would only watch videos and all that right before I'm going to sleep so that I already
Mhm.
know there's nothing left because there's this one podcast I like to listen to where people are doing like the murder mysteries and stuff like that. And so when I
Mhm.
do stuff like that, you can get into it so much that hey, you're going to use up all your time. And so that's what I try to do is have it just at like at nighttime where
Right.
um it won't use up my day doing the stuff I'm supposed to be doing.
But that's good that you kind of pay attention to that, Arnie. And that's really the call to action that we have for everyone today, because like what we're trying to in terms of what we're generally saying, social media is not something to look at in terms of, oh, it's negative or it's
Hmm.
positive. It's a neutral thing because it's a tool. That's really all it is. But the way that you approach it, the way that you go about using it, even the way that you absorb what is in it, like that's always going to be up to you. And it's good for us to kind of step back and assess that, because the way that social media is, if we're not careful, it can influence the way that we think, right? It can
Hmm.
influence the behaviors that we, like what we mentioned earlier, what you might think is okay, like, oh, that's trending, or oh, so and so celebrity did it, so that means that it's okay, right?
Hmm.
That kind of thinking, it's almost like you're rationalizing or justifying certain kinds of behavior just because you've seen somebody else do it. Whereas
Yeah.
for us, right, as Christians, we want to be able to really go into the things that we do with intention, knowing that, okay, is this something that I should be doing, like even when I'm on social media, right? Being aware of those things
And
is
even with the point of when you do see a post, you have to take in consideration, is that the whole picture? Because
right.
like sometimes people like to brag, oh look, I got this and this and this, but it doesn't mean necessarily that their life is going well. But the only thing people see is like, oh look, she's spending hundreds of dollars and all. And so it's it's knowing that, hey, it's content, and that's all it is, and not being like, oh look, she's got more money than I do. You know what I mean? Because
Mhm.
sometimes people feel like that when they see all these other people posting things.
For sure. That's I'm glad that you brought that up, Arnie. So that I didn't have to, because that's a hard topic for me in general. That's something that I've had to really unlearn, honestly. Even just being like 28 years old, it is hard for me to detach from that idea of what they always say is that people, they post their highlights, right? They
Hmm.
post their highlights, they post what's, and that's up to them, right? That's their social media. That's up to them if they're going to post that kind of stuff. But the way that you kind of think about yourself and the way that you compare yourself when you're looking at those things, you can either look at it in a positive way, like, oh, that's something that I could do one day, or
Hmm.
look at it in a negative way, like, oh, like, why don't I have that? I should have that too, blah blah blah. It's these narratives that we start to create, and that can go for all facets of it, not just for comparison wise, but even like what people post in terms of, like, I see a lot of posts on social media when it comes to psychology posts. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen like a
Yeah.
lot of that stuff, and stuff about relationships and how to
Hmm.
deal with relationships. A lot of it, there's a lot of advice that's just a surplus of advice out there. And if you're not careful about the stuff that you kind of like, oh, if, because sometimes what might happen is you see a post that might agree with what your feelings are for that moment, but it's like, but is that the right thing
Yeah.
to feel? Is that, like, not that we can't feel our feelings, right? But is that the right principle? That's what I should say. Is that the right principle to live by? Are you backtracking, or are you comparing that post and kind of using your baseline of your faith, or what we believe as Christians? Does that align with what we believe as Christians, right? Because we
Exactly.
don't just adopt something on social media just because it's people are saying it, or people are validating like what you might be thinking in your head, but it's just like,
Validating is a good word because I feel like a lot of those, that's what their goal is. That's what they're aiming for, to validate, right? To get you to, or to
To fit
validate
in.
how you're feeling at that moment, so that
Hmm.
you're like, oh, like this person understands me. Like, let me just follow them on social media because they really understand, like, I know how I feel. But that's the thing. They do it because they know that that's what you're gonna respond to. They know that that's what most people are gonna respond to, because it, like I said, it validates what they're feeling, even though it might not be the right thing. Right? It's all in pursuit of going viral, of like being popular, being famous. Right?
not even just being popular and being famous, but just like you're validating your own perspective or point of view. And
Mm.
I've been guilty of that. Like sometimes when I'm upset and I see something like, oh, like this this like validates my feelings, but then I have to step back and be like, but is that the right way to be thinking though? Is that the right perspective for me to have? So it's there are things that might that might feel natural for us to do, like especially if we're just going into it like unconsciously. But that's the whole call to action here, is that we need to be able to go into social media and know where to detach ourselves a little bit and look at things more neutrally,
Mhm.
and see if that aligns with our values, see if that aligns with our principles before we agree or before we adopt to anything. Because even just liking the post, once you like a post, you will start to see a lot of the same things. Like with your cat, your for your page. Once you like that cat post, the algorithm will know. The algorithm will know what to feed you. And then once you start liking that stuff, it will reinforce whatever is the thing that you liked. And if it's something that is, that goes against what your actual principles are, the more that you see it, the more you'll be influenced to think otherwise, right? You might be more inclined to start believing in whatever that is. But then you didn't make the effort to kind of think, oh, does this align with my values, though? Does this align with my beliefs, like as
I
a
just want to
Christian?
mention this because I just saw his comment in the live chat. And it reminded me of, like, I would say a bad habit I had before with social media. He said the passive aggressive posting to social media, and no, it wasn't passive aggressive posting, but when I see someone doing it like a passive aggressive post, I have a bad habit of assuming that it was because of me or something that I did, something like, especially if it's, if it's my friend, then I'll be like, oh no, what did I do this time?
It's not
I
all
kind
about you,
of,
EJ.
yeah, yeah, that's the thing. That's why I had to reinforce myself. Like, oh no, what did I do this time? like, they're, I know, like they're upset about something. I'm pretty sure I did something that upset them. Like, I had that bad habit of assuming it was because of something I did. Sometimes it's not, or not sometimes. Most times it's not.
Most of the time, yeah, most of the time it's not. And I'm glad you mentioned that too, EJ, because before I forget, I know we did some man on the street videos, right? We did some man on the street videos that we it's not just our thoughts that we want to share with all of you today, but we even went out and tried to ask different people to see what was on their minds in terms of this topic. So let's see what they had to say, and we'll do some response to some of these comments and responses.
Anime because it's cool. The fighting scenes and the animation, they're cool.
So what I usually see on my social media consists of a lot of arts and animations, whether it be a drawing or sketch or even a video, or sometimes even music. That's what I usually see on my social media.
Negative because there's a lot of people saying bad stuff. Like, it's not good for church.
Whether it makes me feel more positive or negative, it all depends on the mood I'm feeling that day or even the post itself.
Like, more church stuff, like fancy stuff, like the events. Because I'm always not informed about the events.
And as for what I want to see more of, especially on social media, I would want to see more positivity, especially with all the problems that we're all facing in this world. I feel like seeing even a simple happy post can lighten a person's mood up. It would lighten my mood up, I know that. But yeah, so I would want to see more positivity no matter how it's shown on social media.
Thank you for those answers from everyone, from our sister and our brother. From one of them, I think, believe is from California, and then Sophia is from our district. Um, I wanted to show that, especially because of the last part, because if we had a choice, right? If we had a choice of what we wanted to see more of on social media, a lot of us would want to opt for the latter, right? That positive, because to Sophia's point, life is hard and challenging not most of the time, but a lot of the time, a lot of the time, right? We all go through different things. So going into social media and then seeing more of the negative, not that we're ignoring it, right? But just because it can affect our mood, right? Just based off of a lot of what we talked about already, it's something that can influence us and affect us in a lot of ways that
Hmm.
sometimes we might not even recognize right off the bat, right? Thoughts,
Yeah,
guys?
it's when you get to see all the positive, then then sometimes you forget about all your worries and all your stress. So that's why I like to watch things that are positive.
For sure. I want to give a quick shout out to Light Life that was launched a little over a year ago now. That's one of the social medias from the Church of Christ, Iglesia Ni Cristo. It's so nice to be able to follow that account because you get to see, it's that perspective of living as Christians and being able to be reminded of different principles and different things that we value. So if you're not following that, I highly recommend that you look for that. I believe it's both on Facebook and Instagram. I'm not on the other platforms, so I'm not sure if it's, I believe it's also on TikTok. I'm not sure about Twitter though. But definitely one of the things to follow because it is helpful to know what people go through because I'm one for looking at people's stories, like not their stories like Instagram story or like Facebook story. I mean their actual stories, being able to see their stories, and that's something that inspires me because like I said before, typically people post their highlights. People will post the stuff that's good, that's going on in life, which is great, right? But to be able to see someone go from point A to point B and seeing everything happen in between and how they get there, that's also really nice to see too, because then you realize like, oh, I'm not the only one going through this, this
Hmm.
this tough time. Like so and so is also going through it too, and it just makes you feel more connected to people and more, I don't know, like it's more relatable, I guess,
Yeah.
in that way.
Yeah. And that way you feel like, okay, it's not just me,
Yeah.
because sometimes that's all, like you said, with the whole validation thing, where, okay, it's, because some people, they feel like they're not at the point in their life where they should be. But
Mhm.
then when they see that sometimes it's not something that's really quick, sometimes it is a step process, then they'll start to realize, okay, I can get there.
For sure. And that idea also of acceptance, right? That's, I feel like that's something that kind of plays a part too in social media when we feel relatable. I feel like that's why sometimes some might get caught up in that idea of, oh, I need to keep up with this trend so that I feel relevant, or I feel like I belong to something, or I need to identify with this thing so that I feel like I belong to something, right? Just adopting these different things can make them feel like they're relatable or they can relate to something or that they belong to something. But again, it just goes back to that idea of, is that the thing that you want to belong to, or is that a concept that you want to associate yourself with just to feel like you belong to something, right? So being able to just have that, the different social medias that we have in the INC is really nice to have, so that everyone can know what it's like to grow up as, as Christians as we are, and the things that we do go through, because we also go through we also go through struggles. But being able, like, their posts are super great. I would love to see more from Light Life, um and just more things that inspire us, and listening to everybody's stories. um for you, Arnie and EJ, if there's any tips. Of course, we're not experts, okay? The way that we're speaking on the show today, we're just sharing our experiences and sharing our stories, and it might look different for everybody. But for you guys, what could you say would be good ways to kind of approach social media and keeping ourselves in check so that we don't get on autopilot in terms of putting all of our time on it, and not being in the now, or being able to filter the things that we are watching and reading, or just being more self-aware in general. What would be your tips and advice, or things that you guys do personally to kind of keep yourselves in check when you're on social media?
I think for me, I take things with a grain of salt. Like I said, I understand that. Yes, I'm happy for people when they post great stuff, but that's not the whole. that's not their whole life, you know what I mean? And so even though people see things, just it is what it is. And don't take it like everything so seriously. Sometimes people like, well, they've got this and this and this and I want that same thing. And just when you're looking at social media and looking at different posts, it's I see as entertainment more of anything else.
What are your thoughts, EJ?
I would say the same, especially if you feel like, this is speaking from experience. If you feel like social media is consuming a lot of your time, like in like like any habits. Shout out to our previous topics. Like a habit, it's something that you can change, right? Like just try to do something outside of social media. Like when you're hanging out with your friends, like even if it's only you that's not on your phone, try it. Try it not being on your phone. Look outside the window, right? You're like say you're driving with your friends. Look outside the window. Not if you're the driver, of course. If you're the driver. Let's say you're a passenger. You're a passenger in the car. Like look outside the window. Like try not to like when you're with your friends, especially try not to look at your phone. I know I what I said earlier. Now I check my phone, but it's literally just a couple seconds. Like okay, no notifications, no messages, no calls. Okay, then let's go back to this what we're doing. Try to do something outside of social media. And like I said, it's like a habit. It's something that becomes more and more natural as you get used to it, right? Like, and I know sometimes it's tempting, especially if your friends are also, if they're also on their phone when you're hanging out. But even if it's only you, even if it's only you that's not like on your phone, like I would say I don't know from my experience, I've learned to look at a lot more things that I didn't notice when I would always look down my phone, right? Like I've noticed like the beautiful sights that I drove by, like I drove by in the city that we were living in, right? Like we drove by the before, and I didn't really look outside the window because like, oh, it's the outside. It's just the outside, you know. And it's a I can't explain how it feels, but it's a different feeling. When you finally notice that. I don't know when. Like I would share this experience that I've had where I just looked up at the sky and then I don't know it what it was that I was just amazed at like how high the sky looked like, you know, like I I actually told myself, when was the last time I actually looked at a cloud? And I was just amazed at how clouds look like. you know, like even at let's say at night, just step outside, just look up. Like look up at the stars. You'll be amazed at how it looks like. If you have a telescope, that's even better. But you don't have to. You don't have to. Even just with your own two eyes, just look up at the stars, and like when you really pay attention to it, like when you're really paying attention to it, it looks different. Like it, like you might look at a picture of a star on social media. Let's say someone takes a picture of the sky, but when you're actually seeing it with your own two eyes, it's a different experience. Like, I can guarantee you that. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on it.
So unplugging,
Mm-hmm.
taking the time to unplug really is important. Um, as for me, some of the things that I've tried to adopt within the last few years, just working a little bit more with social media, is regular breaks, like what similar to what EJ says, not just unplugging, but like regular breaks. I take some time where there's certain points throughout the year where I get pretty quiet, and I try to you know stop and detach from social media for a little bit. But I also don't have notifications on for social media. Instagram, Facebook. I don't keep the apps on my phone. Sometimes I just have it on. I go to the actual web browser, like like back then, like before smartphones and everything. You actually had to like type it in on your before the apps became more prevalent. So that's stuff that's helped me in terms of, because I feel like I'm always anxious when I have things popping up on my phone,
Hmm.
notifications. Anyone knows that. I mean, the ones who are closest to me know that if they need to reach me, they have to call. So, when a call comes in, I know that it's an emergency. I know that it's important. It's something that is a very big deal, because if it's not, they know that a text message, I can always get back to them like later on in the day, or a few hours later. But if it's emergency, a call will always come through, and I'll answer. If I don't answer in that moment, I'll call them back pretty quickly. And then, secondly, especially for the younger ones who might be watching, not that we're not young here in the panel, but the much younger ones who might be watching, um, it can be really hard in terms of, I guess, pressure of feeling like you're the oddball out, or you might feel like you don't fit in because you're not doing the thing that everybody else is doing. But the one thing about that is being able to own like who you are as an individual is really important, especially when it in the face of different things that are out there that you already know in your mind that it's not right. Right,
Hmm.
like being able to own that, it should be a proud moment for you. um and don't try not to. I know it's easier said than done, but being able to be the one going against like what's trending for the sake of being trending. Like if it's trending because it's a genuinely good thing, like making kindness contagious, you want that to trend, right? Like being able to spreading kindness, paying it forward, all of that stuff, like that's good. That's a good trend to get on. But if there are things that are trending for the sake of trending, and your friends will ask you like, oh, why didn't you do that thing, everybody's doing it, or like, oh, I tagged you in that thing, you should do it too. It's like, I don't want to. It can be as simple as that, and you don't have to explain yourself. Just be like, I just don't want to. I don't want to. Like it doesn't have to go beyond that. And I know
Hmm.
that can be harder to do when we're a little bit younger, and we have our group of friends who might, you know, their way of thinking, or their that kind of that group think, right, might put that pressure on you. But own yourself. I'll always think of Carolyn's son. Shout out to Carolyn Shank, when she was on here before for Chatline, and her son was known or labeled as the church kid. Like, be proud of that, because that's you owning your faith. That's you owning who you are as a Christian, and we always want to do that because we carry that wherever we are. And that's a proud moment to own. So really own it. Own your individuality. You don't have to be like like everybody else just for the sake of whatever it may be. So yeah, that's my thoughts. That's my 2 cents on the topic. So any other additional stuff, Arnie and EJ, before we close out the show today?
No.
No.
I'd say just experience the world outside of your like phone screen, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the instinct might be when let's say we're watching fireworks or you're on a trip somewhere. It's like, oh, I gotta post this on social media. You're taking all the videos, all the pictures that you experienced the vacation through your phone. You saw the sights through your phone. You didn't see it, like you forgot to look at it like with your own eyes. You're just like, oh, I gotta take a picture of this, or I gotta take a video of that. Like post it on social media. That when you got back, you're just, I don't think I've actually seen. I don't think I actually looked at it. Like I took a picture of it, and I get that. I get wanting to have like those memories, but also not letting that be just for not letting it be. You went there just so you can post about it on social media, or you just so you can. I get wanting to share it, right? I do that too. Like I'll take like let's say if I see something that I want to show like my friends, I'll take a video of it, send it to the group chat, right? But
Intention.
yeah, yeah, you intentionally you also like absorb the view, like with your own two eyes. instead of looking at it through your phone screen because you're recording it. Right?
It always goes back to intention. I feel like that's the one word that I can think of that summarizes the whole topic today. Use social media with intention, not just what you are posting, but also what you are absorbing, what you're receiving, what you're liking, what you're allowing to be on your For You page, what you're allowing to be on your what you're feeding the algorithm, right? Of what it thinks you want to see. Be intentional about that stuff, because social media has the power to do so many things, to go viral, and we always want to make sure that we uphold our principles and beliefs, whether we're in person or whether we're online. So for those who are listening, we hope that you benefited from our topic today. um, Biggest takeaway is just use social media wisely, and the best way that you can do that is take a step back, evaluate your behaviors with it, your relationship with it, and then go from there. If there are things that you see that you need to adjust, then adjust. It's never going to be a light switch. It's never going to be like, oh, okay, I'm better at it because I did this, right? It's always that constant strive to shift and change to be able to for us to be better, right? It doesn't have to be a bad place. It can be filled with great things that help us stay motivated, that help us stay inspired and hopeful, and where we can connect with others, and of course, to share things that we love that are important to us, especially our faith. So thank you to my co-panelists, my co-hosts, for being with us in our conversation. Thank you to everyone there in the live chat. I didn't get to say hi yet to John V from Sydney, Australia, and Regine Kitalig. Thanks for tuning in with us as well. I don't know if I missed any other names. Mario Oka and Alice Gunn, I think I forgot to mention, and Cheyenne Byrne, as well as Elizalde Bernis. Friendster taught me a little coding. I just saw that comment now. All right. Thanks everyone for being with us. And Flo Guillermo and Melvi Tamayo. Thank you for, yes. She said, social media is not a bad thing as long as you don't let it consume your life or change your perception from what's right from wrong, good or bad, and not let it affect your character in life. That's it. That's the show, guys. For those who are watching, especially if you're watching the replay, feel free to comment down below any topics that you want us to do in the future, conversations that matter to you. We want to hear what those are so that we can talk about it together, right? But we hope that today has been a conversation that mattered to you here on INCRadio Chat Line. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in.
This is what I ask. Let me always dwell in the temple of the Lord till I bring my last.
Saturday Music Jam.
Saturday Music Jam.
Saturday Music Jam. Join us as we enjoy and be inspired in our